Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Episode 2 brings back a dropped George arc from young Sheldon Season 4 via George's personal story. Months after he died in the young Sheldon finale, the Cooper patriarch remains a looming presence in the lives of his kids. While Georgie and Mandy's first marriage doesn't have the opportunity to check how Sheldon is doing in California, Episode 2, Some New York Nonsense, dives deep into how his other Texas-based children have been coping since he left. Marking Reagan Ravaud's return as Missy, the sequel spin-off turns quite dark and emotional at times. In Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage's pilot, The 610 to Lubbock, the focus was on establishing Georgie and Mandy's new life with the McAllisters. After spending the earliest days of their relationship with the Cooper family, the couple and baby Tace are now living with Jim and Audrey, which opens fresh storytelling opportunities. Despite moving away from young Sheldon, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is still technically a continuation of the Big Bang Theory prequel. Since George's death hasn't been that long, it continues to weigh on his family, including Georgie, who is under so much stress. Changing the format of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage to a multicam sitcom sets it up to be more lighthearted and funny than young Sheldon. So it's surprising that when Some New York Nonsense introduces a more serious narrative as Georgie deals with an anxiety attack. According to the doctor, his mental health has been suffering due to the immense pressure and stress he has been dealing with as he takes care of his own family and Missy, who has been getting herself in a lot of trouble lately. While the experience is new for Georgie, who is even skeptical at first, seeing him go through some mental health struggles is a reminder of George's battle with depression in young Sheldon Season 4. At that point in the Big Bang Theory prequel, Sheldon's parents were starting to experience major marital issues, with the finale featuring his dad admitting to his wife that he was miserably unhappy. Unfortunately, the matter was never fully explored in the show. Now, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is bringing back the story theme with Georgie's anxiety. For what it's worth, young Sheldon never shied away from tackling dark storylines, especially compared to the Big Bang Theory. George's death and subsequent funeral are proof of its ability-sensitive narrative, without losing its comedic aspect. Before that, it also tackled Paige's home issues, which functioned as a cautionary tale for both Sheldon and Missy. Dropping the Cooper patriarch's mental health struggles had more to do with the way its overall storytelling was going on than anything. As young Sheldon transitioned to become a family comedy drama, it had to juggle so many storylines. George's personal struggle led to his first encounter with Brenda Sparks, which became the focus of his arc in Season 5. Now Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is better positioned to really explore Georgie's situation. Young Sheldon has always been a show that cleverly weaves together humor, heart, and callbacks to the larger Big Bang Theory universe. But fans have often pointed out that certain storylines, especially those that connect back to Sheldon's future, sometimes get lost along the way. That's exactly what happened with George Sr.'s teased infidelity, which loomed over the show for years before finally getting addressed. But now, in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Episode 2, it looks like another forgotten thread from young Sheldon Season 4 is making a surprise return, one that's been sitting unresolved for 3 years. Back in Season 4 of young Sheldon, there was a moment that seemed to hint at a major future development. George Sr. had a conversation that strongly implied he had big dreams for his eldest son Georgie and was struggling with how to guide him. Unlike Sheldon, who had a clear academic path, Georgie was always more of a wild card. Smart in his own way, but uninterested in school, Georgie's future was uncertain. George Sr. made it clear that he wanted more for his son, and the show seemed to be setting up an arc where father and son would bond over Georgie's struggles to find his place in the world. But then, as young Sheldon moved forward, that storyline faded into the background. Instead, the focus shifted to George Sr.'s doomed fate, Missy's rebellious streak, and of course, Sheldon's ever-growing genius. Georgie still had his moments, especially in his romance with Mandy, but the deeper father-son arc that had been teased in Season 4 never got the attention it deserved. That is, until now. With Georgie and Mandy's first marriage diving deeper into Georgie's adult life, Episode 2 picks up where young Sheldon left off. Only this time, it brings back the long-lost plot about George's dreams for his son. The episode sees Georgie struggling to balance his marriage with his work and family obligations. He's under pressure to prove that he can provide for Mandy and their baby Cease, while also grappling with his own insecurities. And that's when an old piece of advice from his father comes back to haunt him. Throughout the episode, Georgie reflects on a conversation he had with his dad years ago. It was a quiet moment, one that didn't seem too important at the time, but now it's taking on new meaning. George Sr. once told Georgie that he didn't need to be a genius like Sheldon to be successful. He had a different kind of intelligence, one that couldn't be measured by grades or test scores. George Sr. had always believed Georgie could build something for himself, maybe even run his own business one day. This memory shakes Georgie to his core. He starts questioning whether he's living up to his father's expectations, or if he's just fumbling his way through adulthood without a real plan. The weight of his father's words lingers, especially now that George Sr. isn't around to guide him anymore. One of the most poignant aspects of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is how it handles the absence of George Sr. unlike young Sheldon, which always had George Sr. as a grounding force in the Cooper household. This new series exists in a world where he's gone. His presence is still felt, but only through memories and the lessons he left behind. Episode 2 leans heavily into this, making George Sr.'s missing guidance a major emotional through-line for Georgie. It's a stark reminder that, even though Georgie is now a husband and father, he still craves the wisdom and support of his own dad. This makes for some deeply emotional moments, especially when Georgie confesses to Mandy that he sometimes wishes he could ask his dad what to do. Mandy, ever the voice of reason, reminds Georgie that his dad believed in him. She urges him to stop doubting himself and start trusting his instincts, just like George Sr. always wanted. For longtime fans, Episode 2 is a satisfying nod to the past. It not only revives a long-dormant plotline from young Sheldon, but also seamlessly ties it into Georgie's current journey. It shows that George Sr.'s influence didn't end when he passed away. His lessons still shape Georgie's decisions, even years later. This episode also serves as a reminder of just how much potential Georgie has. Unlike Sheldon, who was always destined for academia, Georgie's path has been less certain. But Episode 2 suggests that he might finally start stepping into the role his father envisioned for him. Maybe he will start his own business, just like George Sr. believed he could. Maybe he'll prove to himself that he's more than just a high school dropout who got married young. With Episode 2 reviving this old young Sheldon storyline, it opens up exciting possibilities for future episodes. Will Georgie finally take control of his career? Will he honor his father's memory by building something of his own? Could we see flashbacks to more father-son moments that were never shown in young Sheldon? There's also the question of how this will impact Georgie's relationship with his own son or future children, if the show goes in that direction. If Georgie starts thinking more about his father's influence, he may become even more determined to be a strong, present dad for Cease. Ultimately, Episode 2 of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage does more than just continue the story. It adds depth to Georgie's character in a way that feels both emotional and earned. By bringing back a dropped storyline from young Sheldon, it gives fans closure on a plot thread that had been left hanging for years. And most importantly, it reminds us all of the lasting impact a father's words can have long after he's gone.